Well, I want to start the day with a bit of an update. Now, the news is Sauron's eye from the news has really been focused on the aviation industry over the past couple of weeks, really ever since the Black Hawk helicopter incident in DC. But we've known for a long time that, the FAA is woke and, there's been running lawsuits where they hired or refused to hire white male applicants who were well equipped for the job, and yet now they cry about being understaffed. Last week, we had a couple of near misses on the runways. This was quite a sight. A FedEx aircraft basically burst into flames. A FedEx jet burst into flames on takeoff. And we've got some amateur videos and some interesting reporting on exactly what happened. Again, part of what I do here is to bring news. Yes, I know, videos like this maybe don't set the world on fire because it's not as crazy, but, part of this is, my job is to explain the truth, get out in front of some of this stuff. So let's go here. We've seen some footage here. You can see this jet is on fire, bigly. Yeah. Now, of course, the Daily Mail writes, horror! As huge FedEx aircraft explodes into gigantic fireball just moments after takeoff. I'm not sure any of that would qualify as, a gigantic fireball. The thing is, engine fires happen. They happen more than you know. And that's why planes are capable of flying with only one engine. Obviously, single engine planes cannot. And so this is, the media is really capitalizing on basically everything airline related right now. Shocking images and videos of FedEx aircraft bursting into flames went viral on social media Saturday morning as terrified onlookers recorded the scene. The Boeing 767-300 was flying out of Newark Liberty International in New Jersey, but had to emergency land. Now, a lot of people look at this stuff and say, this must be a DEI woke thing. I know that sometimes I would probably, I'm, prone to some hyperbole in particular in my video titles and thumbnails, but I always try to bring it back to reality, bring it back to the truth here. And what happened here was a bird strike. Remember the miracle on, what do they call it? The miracle on the Hudson, not the Hudson, whatever, where Captain Sully landed the plane, right? That was also a bird strike. Bird strikes actually happen all the time. What this was a case of, including the case I covered the other day, the Southwest jet that, narrowly avoided disaster by pulling up and doing a go around instead of smashing into another jet that had not followed instructions and had went out onto the tarmac. You see air traffic, you see the bird striking its right engine. An airport representative told the Daily Mail air traffic was briefly halted as a precaution, but operations have since resumed. After taking off at 7:58 a.m., the flight's right engine erupted into flames with onlookers on the ground describing a loud boom. The plane was forced to U-turn back to Newark for emergency landing at 8:07. The plane's intended destination was Indianapolis, FedEx told the Daily Mail. A group of people on the ground recorded videos of the flaming plane overhead and were swearing in complete disbelief. Another terrifying angle of the plane was captured from inside a car driving on New Jersey Turnpike. As a person filming zoomed in on the plane still in the air, engine fire and smoke could clearly be seen. Now, it's always, anytime you have an engine fire, it's actually perhaps the bird that flew into the engine was woke. That's true. We don't know the bird's ideology. This is a thing. It might have, in order to do have an engine fire this size, it might have been multiple birds, this is always dangerous because I don't know if everyone knows this, but all of the plane's fuel is stored in the wings. And you have a large fire below, essentially, and in this case, at takeoff, a full tank of gas is burning below the gas tank. So I know it's easy for people who understand modern flight and stuff like that, to say, well, this isn't that big of a deal. It's still a pretty big engine fire that burned, did not go out immediately. In fact, did not go out even at the time of landing. You see here, even landing, it's still burned. And that wing is full of jet fuel. So, it's still pretty spicy. And I don't know why President Trump would do this. I mean, I don't really understand why President Trump would do this again, but here we have it. Someone in nearby Elizabeth, which is adjacent to the airport, filmed a video of the flaming plane flying overhead, which of course was then stolen by everybody on Twitter and posted as their own individual reporting for Twitter revenue. The FAA is aware of the incident, will be investigating it. FedEx's plane emergency return is reminiscent of the famous Miracle on the Hudson. Okay, so it was the Hudson. In 2009, when Captain Sully Sullenberger was able to land his plane in the Hudson River after a flock of geese threw into both engines. So this, obviously, the Miracle on the Hudson was more of a miracle because he had lost both engines. Perhaps this plane was loaded with the Epstein files. Maybe that's what happened. Difficult to know for sure, but certainly it's possible. The latest mishap in Newark adds to a long list of aviation lapses. Again, birds flying into the engine. I don't know how many times that happens a year, but it's more than a few. How many plane bird strikes a year? 13,000. Bird strikes have caused a number of accidents with human casualties. There are over 13,000 bird strikes annually in the U.S. alone. 13,000. Happens all the time. 96% of all strikes with civil aircraft in the U.S. involve birds. Strikes with other animals such as deer, cows, turtles, turtles, bats and alligators and iguanas have also been reported. Well, that happens on the runway. You have 142,000 wildlife strikes were reported. 97% involve birds over a, looks like 23-year span. So bird strikes happen thousands of times a year. So, I mean, in this case, in most cases, the bird just gets made into a fine puree and everything kind of goes on. These planes generally aren't, bursting into flames when bird strikes happen. But I mean, I think in this particular case, FedEx flight catches fire after colliding with a bird during takeoff from Newark Airport. No injuries, safe landing. I assume the plane will be a near total loss. I don't know if they can repair that. I mean, certainly the engine needs to get repaired. There'll be damage on the wing from the fire. Perhaps they'll replace the wing and put it back into service. But again, I'm sure that there are plenty of comments in a lot of these videos. Here's the original video that got 37 likes. And then whoever runs Benny Johnson's account just downloads it and uploads it and get 100,000. Hey, Jason, did you record this video? CNN's going to use it. CBS is going to use it. All these people use it. All our famous YouTube, our content creators. Here, Benny takes the same video and gets 5,000 likes. I know Benny's not doing it. Whoever runs his Twitter account, but you can see I'm an aircraft mechanic. I can tell you this. Many of the experienced mechanics have retired. You have heard about the pilot shortage, but there's an even bigger mechanic shortage. Fewer guys are trying to maintain more and more planes. That's true, but again, look at all these comments. DEI hires must be replaced. This is one of the things where I break with a lot of my, peers in this space. It's not that it doesn't indicate. He doesn't clickbait that it's DEI. But there's a problem when, what's going on with these planes lately? I just told you there's 10,000 bird strikes a year. This is not DEI, And look, it's DEI hires. It's either DEI, they're trying to scare people away from traveling. What? Like, I try to keep it real. FAA turned away traffic controllers based on race. All of this is true. I just don't think there's a ton. I don't think there's a ton of value in making everyone afraid to fly. Or making, calling everything woke when it's definitely not woke. It sucks, but engines do this from time to time. It's amazing the pilot could land it safely. Yeah, we should be talking more about how well trained the pilot clearly was. The pilot was clearly well trained, stayed calm, landed the plane. Everybody in these comments is talking about DEI and plane issues. This is not a DEI issue. That's just, thank goodness everybody's okay. Here is some, I don't like DEI either, but this is a bird strike. It happens. So, it happens. I think what's more important is that we shout out the pilot. Is their training, I'm assuming it was a guy, but we don't know. They're training to stay calm in that scenario, land safely, and then the people on the ground to put the fire out. That's obviously the story here. This wasn't DEI. So I think it's important to not fear monger about DEI. This is scary, but it happens every year. These pilots are trained for it, and it looks like this pilot was in fact well trained. And so shout out whoever was flying and their co-pilot and their crew, everyone on the ground for making sure this was not a disastrous one.